She was on her knees, bleeding into spilled coffee when the billionaire made the mistake that would haunt him for the rest of his life. He didn't know her name. He didn't recognize her face. He didn't know why she smiled when he called her nothing. And he certainly didn't know that the folded paper tucked inside her apron would end his certainty, his control, and his power within minutes. The coffee pot slipped from Iris Callaway's hands and shattered across the marble floor of the exclusive restaurant. Hot coffee spread like a muddy stain, crawling across the white tiles as if trying to swallow her whole. Iris dropped instantly to her knees, her worn black pants absorbing the scalding liquid. She didn't react, not to the sting, not to the heat, because the burn in her chest was worse. 30 pairs of wealthy diners turned to stare. Her cheeks burned hotter than the coffee. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, frantically picking up the broken porcelain. Her hands shook. A jagged shard sliced into her thumb, and blood blended with the coffee. "I'm so sorry." "Of course you are." The voice came from above her, cold as steel. She didn't need to look up to know who it was. Damian Westbrook, billionaire, shark in a suit, a man who collected people the same way he collected investment properties. Coldly, strategically, and without hesitation. He had been watching her all night, watching the way she rushed between tables, watching the exhaustion on her face, watching like a hawk circling over prey. "You people are always sorry," he said, his voice carrying just enough to be heard by every table. "Sorry you're late. Sorry you're clumsy. Sorry you exist." Iris swallowed hard, her vision blurring with held-back tears. Not here. Not again. She had already been fired twice this month. She couldn't afford a third. Her daughter's medication cost $400 a week. Not that anyone here cared. "Mr. Westbrook, please." The manager rushed over, face pale. "We'll handle this immediately. Iris, go to the back. Now!" She stood, hiding her bleeding hand behind her apron. She took one step away, but Damian leaned back in his chair, swirling his wine as if this humiliation were entertainment. "That's the problem with this city," he said loud enough for the chandeliers to vibrate. "No standards anymore. They'll hire anyone, but you can't polish garbage." Iris stopped. Something inside her, something bruised, exhausted, and done being stepped on, snapped. She turned. The dining room fell silent. "Excuse me," Iris said softly. Damian lifted an eyebrow. "Did I stutter? Or is your hearing as bad as your coordination?" The manager hovered helplessly. "Iris, go. Please." But she didn't move. She stepped toward Damian's table. 1 step, 2, 3. Her heart a drumbeat in her chest. She had spent years surviving. Tonight, she felt something different. Tonight, she felt dangerous. "You don't know anything about me," she said. "Not what I've survived. Not what I'm fighting for every single day." Damian set his wine glass down with a precise click. He looked her over, her stained uniform, worn shoes, tired eyes, and smiled a smile colder than winter. "You're right," he said. "I don't know you, because you're nothing. A waitress in a restaurant I could buy with the change in my pocket. Replaceable, invisible, and tomorrow someone else will have your job. Poison, pure poison." But Iris didn't shrink. Instead, she smiled, a small, strange smile that didn't match her trembling hands. Damian's eyes flickered, just barely. Confusion. "You're right," Iris said. "I am a waitress, and I've spent 5 years serving people like you, watching you, learning how you think." She reached into her apron and pulled out a folded paper, creased, worn, carried like a secret. "And here's something you don't know," she whispered. Damian's brows pulled together. 6 weeks ago, Westbrook Holdings bought a controlling stake in the Meridian Group, $52 million. Your biggest acquisition this quarter. You remember that, I assume. Damian stiffened. "Yes, and the Meridian Group owns this restaurant, and 15 others in the city." She unfolded the paper and placed it gently on his table. "As of last Monday, I own 43% of the Meridian Group." His face drained of color. The diners gasped. The manager choked on air. Damian lifted the paper. A stock certificate. Notarized. Legal. Real. "This is impossible," he said. But the certainty was gone, replaced by something he had never felt toward a waitress. Fear. How could you afford this? "I was wondering when you'd reach out." "Mr. Patterson," she whispered, "it's time. Tell me everything about the inheritance. Everything my father left me." And why? Iris leaned forward, her bloody thumb leaving a small red mark on his crisp white tablecloth. "That's a very good question," she said. "But I don't owe you an explanation. After all, you said I'm nothing. Invisible." She straightened, legs shaking but holding. "Miss Callaway, wait," Damian said, using her name for the first time. But she was already walking away, untying her apron, and letting it fall behind her like the past she was finally done carrying. She didn't turn back as she pushed through the restaurant doors into the cold night air. Voices rose behind her, confusion, anger, panic. All of it far too late. Her phone buzzed. A number she'd memorized but never dared to call. She dialed back. "Miss Callaway, the lawyer answered Damian Westbrook doesn't want anyone to know who I really am." The law office smelled of old books and polished wood. Iris sat in a chair that probably cost more than her monthly rent, watching Gerald Patterson shuffle papers with the careful precision of a man who had spent decades handling other people's secrets. Her thumb, now bandaged, throbbed lightly, a reminder of the coffee, the shattered pot, and the courage that had finally snapped inside her. "Your father," Patterson said, finally looking over his glasses, "was a complicated man, Miss Callaway. Brilliant, ruthless when he needed to be, and he loved you more than you realized." Iris said nothing. Silence was her weapon. She'd learned it in restaurants, listening to businessmen whisper deals over dessert, gathering fragments like breadcrumbs. Marcus Callaway built his fortune in tech during the 90s. Patterson continued, made millions before the bubble burst, then even more during the panic that followed. When he died 3 years ago, his net worth was north of $200 million. But he hid it, carefully, quietly, always protecting you. "I never knew him," Iris whispered. "He left when I was 2. I didn't even know he died until I got your letter last month." "He always knew where you were," Patterson said gently. "He had investigators check on you regularly. He knew about your daughter, about your struggles. He couldn't intervene, but he watched, and it broke him." Iris's hands clenched. If he cared so much, why leave them in poverty? Why make her fight for every dollar of medicine? Patterson produced another document, sealed and heavy in a plastic sleeve. "This contract was signed 30 years ago, before you were born, before your mother met him." Iris unfolded it. Legalese sprawled across the page, but certain phrases jumped out. Non-disclosure agreement, binding arbitration, liquidated damages $50 million. 2 signatures, Marcus Callaway and Damian Westbrook Sr. "They were partners once," Patterson explained. "Your father and Westbrook Sr. started a company in their 20s, software for banks. It should have made them both rich, but Westbrook Sr. stole the patents, pushed Marcus out, and buried him in legal fees. Marcus settled small payout and a gag order. He was forbidden from competing, contacting the Westbrooks, or speaking publicly, or he owed $50 million. But he recovered quietly, building wealth under aliases, shell companies, layers of protection." Iris felt a cold wave in her chest. But he never returned to confront Westbrook until he met her mother. "And my mother?" she asked. "She was Westbrook Sr.'s assistant for 3 years, Patterson said. Met your father at a tech conference. They fell in love. Marcus begged her to quit, to leave the corporate world. But she was pregnant with you. They kept it secret." Iris's mind raced. Her mother had died when she was 12, taking secrets to the grave. So Marcus left us to protect us. "Exactly," Patterson nodded. "He watched from a distance, sent money discreetly, waited until the contract expired, or until Westbrook Sr. died. That happened 2 years ago. Only then did he prepare to return. He built a portfolio, secured leverage. But he suffered a heart attack 6 months before finalizing everything. That's why he left it to you. To protect you, to give you choice and power he never had himself." Iris absorbed the weight of it all. Her father, a man she never knew, had spent 30 years in the shadows, preparing her to stand in his place. "You have options," Patterson said. "Sell the stock, disappear, live comfortably, or fight back, expose the Westbrooks, reclaim what was taken, make Damian Jr. face what his father did. Your choice." Iris thought of her daughter, asleep at her grandmother's house, fragile and brave, relying on medication Iris had struggled to afford. She thought of the humiliation, the anger, the fire that had lit her chest when she dropped the coffee and confronted Damian Westbrook. "And Damian Westbrook?" she asked. "He knows." He realized someone was acquiring positions in his holdings. "Traced it to your father's estate. That's why he was at the restaurant tonight. He wanted to intimidate you before you became a threat. Men like him only understand dominance and submission." Iris stood, legs steady now, lungs filling with crisp, cold air. She looked out over the city lights, the towers where men like Damian made decisions affecting thousands. She could feel the future in her hands, dangerous and bright. "What happens now?" she asked. "That depends on you. Lawsuits, press releases, exposure, or leverage to build your own empire. Your father left it to you. Your choice. And there's a third option, what you did tonight. Use your position, your intelligence, and your courage. Make them see you. Build a legacy." Iris thought about her father's life, her mother's death, her years of struggle, her daughter's fragile life. She realized that for the first time, she wasn't powerless. "I need to think," she said. "Take your time," Patterson said. "But whatever you decide, remember, your father believed you were stronger than he ever was." She shook his hand, gathered her belongings, and stepped into the November night. The city moved around her. Normal people, normal lives. She called her daughter's doctor first, asking for the absolute best care, regardless of cost. Tears and relief mingled as she listened to the possibilities he described. Then she called Patterson. "I've made my decision," she said. "I want the third option. Stocks, leverage, everything. And set up a public meeting with Damian Westbrook." "Are you sure, Miss Callaway?" She smiled, the same small smile from the restaurant, but now it reached her eyes. "I'm sure. You were wrong about one thing, Mr. Patterson. I'm not stronger than my father, but I have something he didn't. Nothing left to lose, and everything to fight for. That makes me dangerous." She hung up, walking home through the cold streets. Tomorrow, she would enter Damian Westbrook's world not as a waitress, not invisible, but as an equal. Tomorrow, she would fight with the power of everything she had inherited and everything she had earned. Tonight, she was still Iris Callaway, mother, survivor, fighter. Walking home to kiss her sleeping daughter, she whispered into the darkness, "Everything is going to be okay." And for the first time in 5 years, it truly was